I don't even need to hype you up. You're already hyped up. But I want you to make the most noise you have ever made if you are ready to experience the Newest Olympian!
Doylestown, Pennsylvania, what is good? It is a delight to be here and not in the Bermuda Triangle here for the show. Is anyone here like a significant other that got dragged out that has like no idea what's happening? All right, sweet. I was wondering if those 4 people would be like, he knows he's not in Doylestown, right? That's like a 40-minute drive, maybe an hour with traffic away from here. Joke on the podcast, don't worry. But no, don't worry, people who are dragged along to the show. I try to make sure that these shows are enjoyable for everyone, and that is what we are going to have tonight, because we are going to talk about a movie that does exist. And it is an interesting one, and it was a film, and I just have a few thoughts about it, just a couple of things to say. And I think because I have so much to say about it, we should just get right into it. We need to bring our guests on. We're having 2 guests for our show tonight because I want to do this like a true scientific experiment. I have a degree in engineering that I'm clearly using every day. So for any good experiment, you need the control group. So we have 2 guests today. The first guest, let's go with the non-controlled. This is the person who has read the Percy Jackson books before and has also seen this movie. This is someone that you may have heard on the podcast many a time, not only talking about the Percy Jackson books, but also about how his thoughts and opinions are his own. Please make some noise for Dr. Steven Parra! Thank you.
Hello, Philadelphia!
Good, I'm glad you properly announced the real place where we actually are.
Oh, yeah. And Doylestown.
Yeah! So, you've seen the film, you've read the books, we'll get your thoughts, but because this is the true experiment, we also have to have our control group. So please give it up for, and this is completely honest, no joke, non-embellishment, my wife's favorite stand-up comedian, Adam Mamawala! Thank you.
Thank you, Pittsburgh. How's it going?
Yeah, I figured that one's a little more testy. I don't know if there's
be,
actually like a Philadelphia Doylestown rivalry, but it does feel like Pittsburgh versus Philly. A little more intense. So it's not the heckling I crave. This is a podcast show, meaning it's a one-directional conversation. We will have Q&A at the end. That's where you can get your audience participation. Now, Adam, you have not read the books. You hadn't seen this movie at all. This was your first introduction into Percy Jackson, correct?
Yes.
Cool. Now, we wanted to make sure, leave the space open in case Adam did enjoy the movie, which would be interesting if you were like, yeah, I just thought it was perfectly fine.
Yeah.
But I would just like to read a couple of text messages that I received from Adam Mamawala this week. So, just unprompted, got this one a couple days ago. Watched the first half of Percy Jackson last night. It was shocking how bad a movie with that many A-list actors can be. I will say, Uma Thurman absolutely rips as Medusa, though.
I stand by that, yeah.
Which I think is correct. Then later, because I'm not surprised that you couldn't get through more than half of the film, I got another text message from you the next day. I've decided that I will need you to pay me more money for the 2 hours of my life I will never get back from watching a movie, from watching that abomination of a movie. I feel I may be entitled to compensation. And then the picture of the Celino and Barnes injured billboard ad.
Hey, fair is fair.
Yeah, so we've got a movie to discuss. So now we will all be on the same page. For anyone who here has seen the film, okay, who has not? All right, pretty much everybody. Who Did anyone like it? All right, cool. One late, half-hearted raise. So I feel like we're all on the same page, all in the same
This honestly feels
airspace.
like an intervention for the two people who haven't watched it, for all of us to be like, don't
Do
it.
it. Instead of those 2 hours, just be here for 2 hours. So we're just gonna go through the movie. We'll see how much we can get through. Honestly, we might get through the first 5 minutes. I have copious notes, so many notes. So the movie begins, and for this movie, I wanted to make sure that I caught all of the dialogue perfectly. So I watched it with the subtitles on. And when they first play the introductory music of 20th Century Fox, just the little like title card, it does say rousing orchestral fanfare playing. And I feel like that's the happiest this movie is gonna be. Opening with a rousing orchestral fanfare. Now, then Chris Columbus's production company shows up, and it's called 1492 Pictures, which I'm sure he is very proud of as a cool pun, but it's such a bad reference. Like, it's the easiest, lowest hanging fruit. I don't know of a better one, but like, 1492, really? Because your name is Chris Columbus? Really? Have you ever read about Columbus before? Like, I don't know.
Indigenous Peoples Production.
So the actual film opens with a giant Poseidon with horrible CGI. Like, this movie came out in 2010, but I feel like the CGI is way worse than things that came out earlier, like the Lord of the Rings movies.
Jurassic Park looks better. That came out 20 years before it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely ridiculous. So he is giant, and he's walking past and staring down, for no good reason, a fisherman on a pier.
Yeah.
What did that guy do to Poseidon?
Hard to say.
Hard to say indeed.
Caught one of his friends.
I guess, yeah. So then Poseidon approaches Coney Island, and he uses his water powers to form back from 10-foot form into regular human form, and he also goes from having traditional Greek armor to regular human clothes. He then, presumably, walks from Coney Island to the Empire State
I
Building?
think he took the cue. He took the cue. Yeah. He took the cue.
If he walked, it would have taken him 5 hours. Even on the subway, it would have taken him about an hour and 5 minutes. Why does he go to Coney Island? Manhattan is an island. There's so much other water.
I actually have an answer.
Okay.
Have you been to Coney Island?
Yes.
There are some weird people in Coney Island.
Okay.
Really weird. It's the best place to go for something weird to happen, and everyone else doesn't think it's weird because there's so much other weirdness happening.
Oh.
This is my theory.
I think that's a good theory,
Yeah.
actually.
Thoughts?
I think maybe this God powers the MTA could finally run on time for once.
So he makes his way to the Empire State Building. Now, Poseidon is played by Kevin McKidd. And I didn't know this until Kelly pointed it out, but he plays Dr. Owen Hunt on Grey's Anatomy. And I also didn't know this until I posted a photo of it to Instagram. People have capital F feelings about Dr. Owen Hunt. Apparently, he makes wild decisions all across the series. So I wanted to do a little bit of research. Now, this movie came out in 2010. He debuted on Grey's Anatomy in 2008, so they are riding that wave of his fame. Thank you. And here are some of the things. I found an article, the top 5 most hated things that Dr. Owen Hunt did on Grey's Anatomy. Apparently, he cheated on Christina after they had this whole debacle about her having an abortion, whole thing. He also apparently, quote, put the doctors to Boise on a chopper, so there's some characters that die, and he was overseeing the decisions, so like some of the more beloved characters' death are on his hands. It does say about it, though, quote, although this was purely a mistake, Owen's negligence was most certainly somewhat responsible for the doctors, including redacted, just in case you guys are late to, the great show that is Grey's Anatomy, going through that horrifying tragedy. Then apparently he broke up with his fiance via email? Whoa.
Wow.
Brutal.
Look, there's some bad things, getting people murdered on an airplane, but emailing your fiance to call off the
Way
wedding?
worse, yeah.
Yeah, and then apparently also he sabotaged his sister's dreams of becoming a flight surgeon.
Did you say flight surgeon?
Flight surgeon?
Yeah,
Yeah?
it's a thing.
What is that? Doctor? What is
Yeah,
that?
hi. Well, it's kind of what it says on the tin. You do surgery in flight.
Like
What?
commercial flights or like...
Like,
No
yeah,
one's
like something-
booking a flight to have a surgery.
Yeah,
It doesn't
I
be
know.
emergency surgery.
It's for like emergent, like really scary situations. Like if like someone's like super duper injured or something, and like you just need to intervene in
As
transit
they're being
to some place.
airlifted somewhere.
Yeah, exactly.
That's kind of a badass job.
Yeah, I think so.
Well,
And
so
he
I've never seen
squashed
Grey's
your
Anatomy,
dreams.
he squashed them,
Yeah.
sabotaged that completely. Then finally, the most egregious, he judged his mother for dating a young, hot firefighter. So Dr. Onho, terrible person. He's also Poseidon. So anyway, he goes
Well,
to the...
in fairness, fire is a threat to Poseidon.
Oh,
so
yeah, that'll do it. Yeah. So Poseidon goes to the roof of the Empire State Building after hours to meet with Zeus, who's played by Sean Bean. Now, I found this to be a huge disruption of the canon because Zeus doesn't die at the end of the book. So, I don't know. It's a cool Sean Bean joke because he dies in all the movies he's in.
Oh.
Now, what Sean Bean's Zeus says is that there's thunder, but no lightning. So clearly, his power bolt has been stolen. I don't think that's a thing in the book, but I guess that is the effect of it in this universe of Percy Jackson. Zeus accuses Poseidon of using his son to steal the bolt because the gods can't steal each other's things, but their children can. Poseidon is very upset at this accusation. And then they are also talking in my favorite accent in movies, which is just old and vague. Like if you watch 300 or Spartacus, like, you just talk dramatically with no real accent, but that's how they talked in Greece. Just no normal conversations can take place.
I just like how they meet. Like that's where they meet. Like it's the end of a romantic comedy.
Yeah.
Like if we haven't found someone in 5 years, we're gonna meet at this time and this date at the top of the Empire State Building.
Yeah. It's always the Empire State Building.
It's always the Empire
It's
State
like,
Building.
Always,
yeah.
always.
Can't they meet in Central Park once in a while or something?
No.
Like, nah.
Nah, too big. But it is funny though, meeting at the top of the Empire State Building. I don't know what the price was back when Sleepless in Seattle was around, but it's like $70 to go
not
to the
cheap, yeah.
Empire State Building. It's very expensive.
We got to get some skin in the game if love's gonna work, you know?
Yeah, we got to drop collectively $140.
Yeah.
So Zeus gives Poseidon the deadline of the summer solstice to return the bull. He says that war will begin if not returned. And then he smashes open a door with his powers, which I thought was completely out of pocket. But then he does reform the door after he walks through it. So instead, this was all just needlessly dramatic. So then we get the title card, which is Percy Jackson and the Olympians underwater with some algae and stuff.
Can I just say though, like that whole scene on the roof, it just seemed like they were just screaming the plot of the movie.
Yeah. It is a thing that I didn't realize because I watched the movie the first time through. Me, Steven, and some other folks. We watched the movie just one time through. That's the thing that we streamed and put up on Patreon, and then you can still watch it. There were more things that I picked up on when I was watching this and taking notes. And with this thing in the intro, as you pointed out, and also all of the dialogue, they are constantly screaming in all caps, bold, and underlined, what is happening the whole time. Like, there's no dialogue about character development. The whole time is like, this is what we're doing. This is why we're here. So yeah, they say like the entire thing.
Yeah.
And I feel like they kind of do it in the book, but like I don't remember there being just like an explicit passage where they're like, okay, guys, here's what's happening, right?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, it's like in the movie, it's like Sean Bean is like, you have until this time at this date. This is the consequence. Percy is your son. I'm telling you this right now.
Right.
Like,
yeah, in the book, you don't learn that Percy is the son of Poseidon until chapter 8, I think.
Which feels better because it's like, wouldn't that be enjoyable to find that out later?
Yeah, it would be intriguing. So when
Right.
Percy is confused by the water powers, you can be confused.
Right.
But right off the bat, 30 seconds in, they're like, yeah, his kid's Poseidon, his dad's Poseidon. Don't worry about it. You don't need to be excited or experience joy. So they show the title card, and then that fades into Percy Jackson being underwater. And then when they're doing this, they're also showing the credits. It is alphabetical after the original trio, and then you get some of the big names that show up in this movie. Logan Lerman does hold his breath for a really long time. I know this is shot in slow motion, but it does still feel like one take and like he was underwater for a very long time. I'm genuinely impressed by Logan Lerman.
It looked like the kid from the Nirvana album grew up.
Do you feel old? This is the kid now. So he holds his breath for a long time. Then the character Percy, he emerges, and Grover is there congratulating him for staying underwater for 7 minutes, calling him a beast repeatedly. Now, if this sounds off to you from Book Grover, here's a fun thing you can learn, Adam. Book Grover, the most opposite from the Grover you see in the film.
Okay.
He's supposed to be like shy and nerdy and a little bit awkward. And I think that goes a long way for some of the things that we'll talk about later, where I feel like the actor is just kind of like playing himself. Brandon T. Jackson's been in a couple other things, and he does stand-up, and he's just kind of being Brandon T. Jackson in this movie, whereas Grover is just like such a different vibe. I don't necessarily hate it, like it's a choice. I don't love it, but it's just so vastly different from the book. Just very, very alarming. Now, Brandon T. Jackson is someone that you might remember from Tropic Thunder. He played the booty sweat guy in Tropic Thunder. And I was wondering, I was like, oh wow, I've seen him in that. I know he's in this. Did he do anything else? And I looked up his IMDb, and he hadn't done anything else. Then I found an article that it was an interview he did with Newsweek in 2019, where he believes that he and his acting career were cursed because he played a gay character in Tropic Thunder. So I'm very happy that his career has amounted to nothing. This is a very funny Newsweek piece because they call Rick Riordan Rick O. Riordan, to make him more Irish. They call him Rick O. Riordan, and apparently Brandon T. Jackson is very into the Black Hebrew Israelite faith, and according to the article, it says Black Hebrew Israelites believe they are descendants of the ancient Israelites, and as such, Jackson said that his power source is connected to his bloodline. He believes he hasn't achieved the same level of success as stars such as Tyler Perry because he broke the laws of his religion. And it's just like, what a weird thing for him in 2019 to be like, my career isn't going well. What if I did a homophobic interview in the year of our Lord 2019 so that I can get my career back on track to be like someone who is still beloved in 2019, Tyler Perry?
I just want to know, does he, when he sees Hebrew, do the letters all come together?
So Percy tells Grover that he likes being in the water, says it's the only place that he can think. I guess this would be more interesting if we didn't know that his dad was Poseidon.
Yeah. Sure. No, I hate this so much because it's one of my biggest pet peeves in the film is that so much of the dialogue is non sequiturs. Because what leads into Percy saying this is Grover goes, wow, you're a beast. You held your breath for 7 minutes. How did you do that? The water's the only place I feel at home. It's just like,
and not only does he say that, when he comes out of the water, you get such like of its time. It's like a clear, they wanted to make him look like Justin Bieber. Like his hair is like flattened in such a way that they're like obviously going for that.
They're going for Bieber or Zac Efron High School Musical, which they do reference in about 10 seconds in the film.
Oh, yeah.
By the way, you mentioned the credits. Like, most of you have seen the film. And I meant what I said when I texted you. Alexandra Daddario, Pierce Brosnan, Steve Coogan, Rosario Dawson, Catherine Keener, Joe Pantaleone, and Uma Thurman. Those are some of the best actors in the world. How is this movie so bad? How is it so bad? It's almost impressive how bad it is.
Chris Columbus. So, Percy says that's the only place he can think. Grover gives a very knowing look, because Grover does know, I believe, who his father is. But we then cut to them walking through the halls, through the high school, and they are continuing the conversation that they had before. Now, when they started this conversation, Percy was still wearing a bathing suit and was still wet. So he took the time to dry off, change his clothes. Then they are walking through the hallway, and then Percy goes, oh man, I wish I could stay in the water all day. Like, what did they do for the past 13 minutes? Just say nothing? But then Grover responds, yeah, it really is high school without the musical, which I guess it's 2009 when they filmed it, so we gotta reference it. I'm also pretty sure this is the high school. It looks so much like the high school from the first Spider-Man movie. Like, it looks just like it. I was waiting for that guy to come and like try to punch Peter Parker in the face, and then the slow-mo fist comes through. Now, Miss Dodds comes in. Now, there's a couple of differences here. In the book, she is the regular math teacher that just doesn't like Percy. In the movie, she's the substitute English teacher, which, fine, like, it doesn't really matter. Like, I don't know why you would change it. But then she asks the class a question about Shakespeare's Othello. Like, if you're gonna change her subject, maybe you could have made her the history teacher and they could talk about Greek stuff. Or if you're gonna make her an English teacher, why aren't they reading the Iliad or the Odyssey?
I knew she was shady as soon as she was a substitute teacher who was actually trying to do things. I was like, that's not right. Something here is off. No one would do that.
Yeah, good call, good call. She asks the class something about Othello. She has a quote on the board. And then multiple people raise their hand to answer. But then she calls on Percy Jackson, even though his hand is not raised. And then he says that he cannot answer the question. They show you a little bit of his dyslexia by looking at the board, and the letters kind of move around. He says he can't answer the question. She gets all upset with him. Then he walks home and hears something wild. and maybe this is just a New York specific thing to me, but he walks in the lobby of his building, seems like a walk-up apartment type situation. So you're gonna walk in, there's gonna be stairs up to each of the apartments on the floor. Once he gets through the front door of his building, he goes, "Hey mom, I'm home," in the lobby. And then she says, "I'm up here, honey." Where else would she be? Hanging out in the hallway? Someone else's apartment? Like, what is she gonna say? Do the neighbors hate him because he always announces when he's home every day?
It's a real like Ricky and Lucy. Mom, I'm home.
Are we supposed to think that the Jacksons own more than one floor? It was just so bizarre to me. So bizarre. Now, his mom is played by the same mom in Get Out, which is just all I was thinking while I was watching this movie. And there is just stunning dialogue, but not in the good sense, because Percy goes, "I think this dyslexia thing is getting worse." And then his mom goes, "Oh, why do you think that?" And then Percy goes, "I don't know. Maybe it's the ADHD."
They're really stacking a lot of stuff up.
Like I said, non sequiturs.
I will say though, as someone who had no knowledge of the books or the film, I do think it is dope that this like major motion picture is depicting someone with dyslexia. Like, I think that's a cool thing.
The books, actually, Rick Riordan wrote them this way because his son has ADHD and dyslexia, and he wanted to have a story that had some
Did his son tell him by saying, "Dad, I am dyslexic and have ADHD"?
Well, he came in after announcing
I just
that he
wanted
was
you
home.
to know, Father.
He said, "Yeah, I'm home," and then said, "I think it's getting worse."
Dad, I'm home and I have some news.
So Smelly Gabe comes in. In the books, Percy always calls him Smelly Gabe, which I think is great. He comes in saying "woman," which just a great way to enter a room. He's played by Cypher from The Matrix.
Yeah.
Perfect casting.
Yeah.
Perfect casting.
He's a great evil guy.
Yeah.
Oh
he-
yeah.
He's one of the shining lights in the whole film. I think he's like one of the best cast. Does his role great.
Yeah. He's one of those guys where like he could never be cast as someone good. It's like when
He's in Memento also. He's great in Memento.
Oh, he's wonderful.
Yeah, and he's
Memento.
also a bad person in that too.
Yeah.
And then it reminds me of like when who were we just talking about? The Underminer and
The Incredibles.
yeah, but who's the guy who's always
The Rhino. Paul Giamatti.
It's a fun game of live taboo.
I know, right?
It reminds me of Paul Giamatti, where he's just a bad person in every film. And I remember seeing a movie where he was like, didn't start as a bad person, and then halfway through the movie, the like plot twist is that he's evil. It's like, you cast Paul Giamatti.
Yeah.
I knew this twist was coming. Like, you can't be a nice guy.
But they just don't give Joe Pantoliano anything. Like, all of his lines are like, "Give me a beer, woman." Like, there's just there's no depth to any of it.
And just it doesn't make sense because he comes in, walks past the fridge, sit down, asks where his beer is. He's still way closer to the fridge, and then makes her go and get it. When she does walk by, he smacks her on the butt, and then Percy calls him out for doing it right here, saying that it's disgusting, and then he also goes, "We're in a kitchen." Like, that's a sacred ground. Percy,
I eat here.
do not listen to Drunken Love by Beyonce, Percy. You're going to be mortified. Percy asks why Sally stays with him while Smelly Gabe is still walking into the bedroom. Like, he can for sure hear it. I kind of respect it from Percy, just to like fully fledged know that Smelly Gabe hears this whole thing. Sally says Smelly Gabe has been good for them in ways that Percy will understand one day. Percy then goes out onto the fire escape, like all of us New Yorkers do when we're feeling forlorn. And he legit looks like he was about to break into song. I thought he might. Like, there was...
Turns out it is High School Musical.
I thought there was a chance that he was going to do it. So then we cut to the Met, and Percy hears in his head, "Be prepared, Percy. Everything is about to change." And then Percy sees Poseidon just straight up staring at him across the street. And then it does the classic like bus go by, and then when the bus is done going by, he's gone. I love it. It's so cheesy. I love stuff like this. Oh, phenomenal. So then they go into the Met. It's 1,000% not the Met, but they're in the Met. And we see Chiron explaining the big three and Kronos, which they call Kronos for some reason. It's like another...
It's like a mix between Kronos and the Cronut. You ever had a Cronut?
No, but don't you have to like wait in line at the bakery or something? I love a baked good. I don't wait in line love a baked good. But yeah, Cronus spelling it that way, like that's an alternate spelling, but the books don't spell it that way. So like, why would you actively choose to do the other one? I don't understand. It's so strange to me. Percy is listening to music in his earbuds in his iPod, which will come up later, which is very of the time. But like, in what world does the teacher let that fly? Like, they're on a field trip where they're given instructional information, and one of the kids just like actively has their headphones in, and he's in the front. Like, he's not even in the back. He's in the front. And he has both ears in, not just like one trying to sneak it, like where you run it through the inside of your hoodie and you do something like this in class. Yeah, yeah. So back in the day, headphones had wires. But Chiron is played, as you mentioned, by Pierce Brosnan, who has an egregiously fake beard. Like, I'm no costume designer, but it does not look very good.
Right.
Grover is also a class clown type, seemingly popular, very different from the vibe of Grover in the book. And he makes like a hook up comment when Chiron is struggling to find the words to describe how the gods would come down and have demigod kids, asks Percy what the name of a half-god, half-human is. Percy has to take out his headphones to answer, and then he is able to answer because he sees on carving in a wall type thing with Greek letters, they kind of rearrange around and then form English. I thought that effect was kind of cool. It looked a lot better than the dyslexia on the chalkboard one, but kind of giving us a little bit of the play of how he has dyslexia, but how in the books it's because he can understand ancient Greek. So then Miss Dodds tells Percy that they need to talk and brings him into a room that has a sign that says installation in progress. Where is the security of the Met? They just go into this room. They don't need a key. They're just like, yeah, let's just go in this. No
an
problem at all.
adult teacher takes a child into this isolated room. Nothing.
So she seemingly disappears. Percy has a bit of sass asking where she went, and then we see that she's just standing on top of some scaffolding. It's so funny. I don't know why, but it makes me giggle so much as she just screams, "Where is it?" And then Percy just goes, and there's a couple good Logan Lerman deliveries. There's a lot of problems with this film. I don't think Logan Lerman is one of them. I think he's fine. Not a fan. Okay. I think it's like the lines he aren't give. I think the lines he's giving don't
dialogue
give
is
any favor.
really bad, and that obviously doesn't help. But like, when you watch, I don't know, the new Spider-Man, like Tom Holland just has that magnetism. He's got a certain thing that you can't really define. I don't feel like Logan Lerman has that.
Okay.
I'm sorry if that's unpopular.
There's a lot of people who defend him. I think more people have the "it wasn't his fault" kind of thing.
Oh, there's only so much you can do with a terribly written script,
Exactly.
for sure.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people just defend him because he was attractive for the time.
That'll
Their
do
age
it.
group,
That'll do it. So he sassily goes, "How did you get up there?" And then she immediately turns into a terrifying fury flying demon.
It's pretty scary, honestly.
It's super scary.
Yeah.
She accuses Percy of stealing the lightning bolt. Percy says he doesn't know what she's talking about. She snatches him, demands the bolt, and then enter Chiron and Grover. Chiron demands that she release him or he'll tear her to pieces. She flies out of the window, breaking it. Percy's freaking out, saying that he should be on medication. And then Percy mentions that she was mentioning a bolt, and Chiron says that he's in danger and they must bring him to camp.
Her villain line was so bad, though.
Okay, what was her villain line?
Her villain line was, "Give it to me now or I will bite your heart out."
Yeah. Bite your heart out is weird. Not tear, not chew.
Yeah. It sounds like an 80s rock band, like, love reference. Like,
Ooh.
she bit my heart out.
Give it to me now, or I'll bite your heart out. Yeah. Chiron gives Percy a Riptide, and this makes me very upset. And this is one of those things I feel like you might think we're nitpicking. In the books, Riptide, the pen, which they never call Riptide, Riptide, the pen, is just supposed to be this like seemingly one of those crappy like plastic see-through ballpoint pens, just like a joke of a pen. And then it turns out to be this amazing magical sword with all this history. But in the movie, it's already bronze and kind of nice looking, which like I didn't like that the pen was nice. And then it's a clicky pen. It turns into a sword when you click it. You got to get your thumb out of the way really quickly. I was waiting.
It's a design flaw for sure.
I was waiting for him to be like, shit, man, that really hurt. Ugh.
Especially if you're one of those people who like nervously like clicks next to you.
Yeah,
Could be problematic. Yeah.
I can never
God
own this
forbid you
pen.
chew on it.
So then Percy goes, "This is a pen. This is a pen." This, I think, is the best delivered line maybe in the whole film. But he is very flummoxed. Percy just won't drop it as Grover takes him away. And again, we have another continue the conversation scene because then they are across the street from the Met. They are walking across the street. And then Percy goes, "Yo, man, what is going on? What just happened?" You walk through the whole Met, down the stairs, waited for the cross light, and then you go, "What's the deal?" Ridiculous.
Now, then we get this kind of crappy scene of Percy just refusing to accept that Grover is his protector because of the crutches. And I feel like in the book it plays a little bit better because Grover is supposed to be someone who doesn't stand up to bullies and is non-confrontational and awkward, but because Brandon T. Jackson Grover is just this ripped, confident class clown type guy, the only thing Percy can do is say, you have crutches, you have crutches. And it just feels, he really like drives it home. Like, you can't defend me, you have crutches. And it's just like really uncomfortable. And thankfully, Grover in this movie beats the crap out of people with his crutches, so proves that wrong.
Yeah.
But it just like really felt like they were driven it home. Grover does call Percy Purse. I love it. I think that's good. It never happens in the book, but I appreciate it. And then they go to see Sally, who is serving Smelly Gabe and his friends beer at poker night. Then Grover beats him up with the crutches, including a shot in his Smelly Gabe's. And Percy is impressed with his protection. Then they head out, and they wait, they go in Smelly Gabe's car, until they are halfway across the Queensboro Bridge, and then Percy asks, so what's going on? What have you been talking about for like 50 minutes?
Probably why Grover's sitting in the middle seat, in the back seat, just so
It's
you
my
can see.
least favorite movie TV thing ever, is when there's only one person in the back seat and they sit in the middle because they just have a camera at the front windshield. It's really, really frustrating. It's so frustrating.
Well, maybe if you had goat legs, you'd sit in the...
Maybe if what?
If you had different kinds of
goat
legs,
legs.
you
Yeah,
would
maybe.
need some more room. You want a goat spread.
Yeah. Oh, you gotta.
Yeah.
Okay. Sally starts explaining Percy's father, says they met on the Jersey Shore, which I loved. Like, strange romance on the Jersey Shore, that tracks. And Sally...
That's why I came into Coney Island. That's where they met.
But
New York
Brooklyn.
Shore.
yeah. Same
Forget I said
vibe,
that.
different state, yeah. Sally paints this whole good guy persona of Poseidon, and then it is now nighttime, and they are getting close to Camp Half-Blood, and then we see the Minotaur, who throws a cow into the middle of the road to get them to stop.
Twister vibes.
What vibes?
Twister.
Twister, yes,
And there's
of course.
cows flipping around.
Yeah, just so rude. Like, what did that cow do to anyone? So then Grover removes his pants to reveal his goat legs and breaks out the window so they can get out of the car. And Percy goes, you're half donkey? And he goes, I'm half goat. They get to the Camp Half-Blood entrance. Percy and Grover are just fine. But Sally can't go in because of some invisible force field. Not a thing in the book at all. What makes way more sense in the book is like they have this whole fight with the Minotaur as they are getting to Camp Half-Blood.
Yeah.
But in this, they just like get there completely unharmed, and then Sally can't get in, and then you have the whole fight.
Can I just jump in on
Please
the
do.
the goat leg reveal?
Please.
Because I got to call BS
Okay.
on the whole thing. Okay. His best friend, supposedly, reveals he's half goat.
Mm-hmm.
Have they never had gym class together? They never had a sleepover. They live in New York City.
Yeah.
It's hot as balls in the summer.
Yeah.
At no point did Percy ask his best friend, why do you always wear pants?
Ooh.
There was no point at which he saw his friend without his pants.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good one. The only thing I can think of is like maybe in gym class they have sweatpants. Maybe he has some sort of medical exemption because of his crutches. But yeah, the heat thing, that's a legitimate one.
I just
And
don't
then
know about that.
Maybe Grover just always has some sort of excuse where he has to leave the sleepover early. Oh no, my mom needs me. Something. But yeah, no, good call.
I don't know.
Yeah. So they have this whole fight, but what's weird is that Grover and Percy go in and then they go out because the Minotaur grabs Sally. But then the whole thing happens where Sally kind of disappears, and we later learn that it was Hades kind of bringing her to the underworld. But then Percy and Grover, even though Sally goes, go inside, you're safe in there, rather than just go inside the safe force field, they fight the Minotaur. Why? Why would you fight him? Just be like, all right, I'll see you later, and just like go in. What is the point? Why are you doing
Well,
it?
aren't they trying to save the mom?
No, the mom's already gone.
Oh, she's already gone.
So
definitely,
just
yeah.
like out of vengeance, he's like, well, I guess I'm going to kill this giant thing with this sword I've never used before. Click. Okay, here we go. Just go in. Weird. So they have the whole fight. It's not as cool as how it happens in the book. The horn breaks off, whatever. And then Percy just kind of faints from exhaustion. So then we have Percy wake up in the medical wing.
It looks like a Civil War triage.
Yes.
And why is it so bleak. There's just like
Yes.
cots everywhere.
Yeah, there's a bunch of people in there, I guess all just from training, not even like a real battle or anything. Kelly made a good observation when we were watching it. It makes sense, Chris Columbus, the guy who directed the Harry Potter films, it's just like Harry Potter vibes. They're like, well, what if we made everything needlessly old school? And there's like tarps all around, and the whole medical cart is this like big wooden wheeled thing. Like they just make everything like weirdly old school for no reason. And it's really sad because this scene in the book is like one of the quintessential Percy and Annabeth moments, where he wakes up and she does the classic thing where she says the joke of you drool when you sleep. It's this whole like cute thing. But instead, we don't meet Annabeth way later, and it's way worse. We just have Grover in a leather tank top. Okay. And while he's there, we have someone getting wrapped up, and they are wearing jeans and shoes, and they're getting their leg wrapped up with like a medical bandage. I pointed this out on Twitter. Someone pointed out, and Kelly pointed out to me later, that like the pant leg is kind of like rolled up a little bit like this, but like Dr.
Don't do
Parra,
that.
wouldn't you like remove the pants?
As a medical doctor,
Like, yeah,
you
as
have
a
to-
doctor, keeping the
want the-
jeans on?
No. I mean, I think, maybe Chris Columbus might have gotten some trouble just pulling jeans off of a kid to wrap up a leg, but like, maybe just don't shoot that. I don't
Roll
know.
them up. Roll them up.
Yeah.
Just like wrap someone's arm? Like, I feel like
Yeah,
there's so many other
exactly.
choices
Yeah.
to make. I don't know. Very weird. So Percy realizes that this isn't a dream. He thought it was all a dream, but then he sees Grover's revealed legs. Grover says that he is a junior protector and he doesn't have his horns yet. I don't think that's a thing. I think Grover always has his horns.
Yeah, it's from It's a Wonderful Lightning Thief.
Nice, nice. So while Grover is explaining the reality of all the Greek stuff, he does call Mr. Brunner Mr. Bruner, even though earlier in the previous scene when they were talking about the sword, when he says, oh, use the pen that Mr. Brunner gave you, he calls you Mr. Brunner. How does no one catch this? The director, the people
Yeah.
shooting it, the editors, no one. He's Brunner up until this point, he's Bruner the rest of the film.
I also I feel like when Percy realizes that it's all real, he handles his mom's death super well.
Yeah.
Like, really, he's just like, well, that sucks. Want to show me around? Like, what is happening? His mom was just, he realized that his mom was consumed by a Minotaur, and he's like, well, can't win them all. Let's where do they have the snacks?
Yes. So Grover is showing him around the camp, and he has a line when he starts explaining the whole like demigod thing. He says to Percy, yep, you're a demigod. 2 points for Percy Jackson. Which I guess Chris Columbus was like, well, I said you're a wizard, Harry, in the first Harry Potter movie, so clearly this book series needs someone very clearly saying this, even though it's painfully obvious from the beginning where they said your son. We're going, oh, ridiculous. Grover then explains the whole ancient Greek dyslexia and battle instincts ADHD thing. Annabeth is the one to describe this to him in the books. Grover is just getting a whole lot of Annabeth stuff here. There is one point where while Grover is describing this to Percy, he's talking to him like this, and then when he says the ADHD thing, he does a full circle around him, and Percy does not move. Like, they weren't walking, it wasn't like an in-motion thing. He's just standing in front of him, and then like jazz squares around him, and continues talking about him. I don't understand it. It was just absolutely bizarre. Absolutely bizarre.
Almost makes you feel like Grover has ADHD.
Yeah, like that's the only
Just stand in
thing.
one place and talk to me. What do
He's
you
like,
do?
I gotta do a circle here. So then they walk out into a field for battle training. It is the most this movie was shot in Vancouver scene I've ever seen.
It's
It is-
definitely not Long Island.
No.
Yes, as Long Island person
Yeah.
who's lived there before, like there's no mountains and
No.
lakes and evergreens of the wrong type.
No.
Yeah, just painfully Vancouver. So they then see Annabeth fighting off 5 dudes at the same time with terrible fight choreography. Just so unbelievable. Really bad posing and stuff. Percy asks what her name is. Grover says, oh, she'll tear you to shreds. And then Percy goes, her name. Because he's like a weird womanizer-y type where he's like, I gotta figure out who this piece of meat is. Like, it's just super duper strange. Nothing like the books at all. They then stare at each other. And then Grover takes him to the coast to see wild centaurs running around. Also, not a thing. But Chris Columbus is like, well, this is the Forbidden Forest, so yeah, the centaurs run around. Then Chiron is with them. He kind of turns off and goes and turns off and kind of goes up with them. Percy calls him Mr. Bruner twice to his face, even though that's not his name. Then we meet the Aphrodite daughters, who are just bikini girls in a Natural Springs hot tub. And then Grover.
Grover's so horny.
Oh, well,
Not yet.
Not yet.
I didn't mean it that way, but I gotta say about Pierce Brosnan. What's his name again?
So Chiron is his Greek name.
Chiron,
Mr.
okay.
Brunner is his teacher name. Mr. Brunner is his alternate name.
All right, I'll go with Chiron. So
Yeah.
at first we see him like with a fake beard in a wheelchair. Then he's a centaur. I honestly think that Pierce Brosnan was like, everyone sees me as James Bond. I want to do something different. And his agent was like, Pierce, do I have a movie for you?
I also love when
You will
he
be the
finally
least Bond anyone has ever been.
I also love when he finally comes to Percy. He just holds his arms out like this. Sorry, podcast listeners. He just
Sure.
holds his arms out like this the whole time. It's just they're very far from his body. He's like, Percy, I meant to tell you.
Yeah, I'm sure he was standing in some strange thing because of horse needing
Yeah.
to CGI and stuff, but his arms just reek of I don't know what to do with my hands,
Yeah.
Ricky Bobby, where they're either like crossed arms but not close enough, because I guess if they were too close they couldn't like transition
think
his
so,
chest.
yeah.
And then if they're straight down they're like weirdly in front too much,
Yeah.
because I guess they would like clip with his hoarseness if he held them by his sides. So he's either like this, like he's trying to do the I Dream of Jeannie thing, or they're like really far in front, like he's getting ready to like do a deadlift. I don't know. It's super weird. It's so awkward the whole time. Then after the whole Aphrodite thing, Grover like runs over because I guess he's just, a horny teenager in this one. So Chiron then laughs this off, goes, oh, satyrs. Satyrs are not after the Aphrodite girls. They are after nymphs. Nymphs do come up later in the movie, so it's not like nymphs don't exist. But I don't know. We just got to make this
it's
Grover
one of-
thing.
It's one of the randomly more accurate to like Greek and Roman mythologies that they're more like revelers and party animals.
Sure.
But it's not the book at all.
No,
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of the choices in this movie was someone just being like, oh, well, here's what they are in every other adaptation. And that's what they do for a lot of the characters. And what makes Percy Jackson fun is that's not what they do. It's a lot of like, oh, I never thought of it that way. But Chris Columbus was like, that's weird. Why don't you do the obvious thing? So then Chiron takes Percy to Cabin 3, which is the waterside cabin built for people at the House of Poseidon. Now, what they do in the actual books is that there's a cabin for each house where all of the kids of that godly parent heritage live. And that's where they stay when they're at camp. They don't show any other cabin, right? You see Percy's cabin in this, and then you see Luke's cool gamer cabin,
Yeah.
and then no other one, right?
That's it, yeah.
So they never explain that. So if you hadn't known this from the books, like, did you think that Poseidon just like made a house for Percy, and that's the one house, and it's like, oh wow, you're the kid with the house?
Yeah, I mean, only when because doesn't he say something like this was
Your
for
dad
you?
made
or-
this
yeah,
for you,
yeah,
is what
yeah.
he says.
Yeah,
just
he's
there.
Just
No one
like
else can
my
use it.
super sweet 16, like spoiled, spoiled half-blood kid.
It's wild. Percy then picks up a literal Triton. Oh, sorry. what
No,
was it?
I was about to say the same thing you're going to. I hate this scene so much for this because it's
This
just
is
like
the worst scene in the movie.
it's like your dad made this for you, and then Percy walks in and just stares. He's so pensive. He looks out at the ocean, goes over, grabs the trident, stares at the trident, looks at the shell on the wall. Another beat. My dad's Poseidon.
He did everything except eat a piece of trident.
Yeah,
It was like,
It's like, yeah, Percy.
So then, Chiron to Percy says, everyone thinks you're the lightning thief. This is the first time they say the lightning thief. They say it so many times in this movie. So many times. And just to check, I pulled up my very legal PDF copy of the book, and I controlled F4, the lightning thief. One result, the cover. That's it. They never say the lightning thief, the lightning thief. They just say it so many times in this movie because Chris Columbus thinks we're all idiots that don't know what's happening. They can't just say like people thought you stole the bull, whatever. It's always the lightning thief. I will call it out every single time. It infuriates me so much, so much. So Chiron and Percy start talking. They have no chemistry. There's none. There's no love. There's no mentorship. In the books, they're dynamic is so great because he's like the only teacher that's nice to him and gives him time and they have conversations. Like there's all this love, which helps ease Percy into the whole, oh my goodness, what's going on? Because he at least has someone that he knows.
And do they develop that backstory where like
Yes.
you know that he's been nice to him rather because we like just meet him in the museum and then it's like, oh, now he's a centaur.
Right, which I get it's a movie, you can't do so much, but at the
Yeah.
very least, like, they could have been friendly to each other at the Met or
Right.
something. But no, he seems like pretty cold to him.
And
at
Percy's
the
got
Met.
headphones.
It's so
He actively
So-
doesn't like it.
It just doesn't make it just really ruins the dynamic where Percy just like has no one except for Grover here. It's very strange. So Chiron's plan is that he wants to take Percy to Olympus to prove his innocence. Not how it goes in the book at all. Chiron says that Percy has to train because once he gets outside the gates, he will be attacked. And then he calls all of these campers to come around, including Dylan and Paris. No, just fake names, right? Not people that show up at all. They
No.
could have used real names and then fans could have done the Leonardo DiCaprio pointing at thing
Yeah,
name.
yeah.
But they're like, what if we pick two different names that aren't in the book at all?
Schubes, before you get too far,
Yes,
if I may.
please, yes.
This was my least favorite line in the whole movie.
Ooh, okay.
In that scene where they're in the secret cabin, whatever the hell it is. The way Chiron explains the thing about the stepdad is the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
Okay,
He says,
yeah.
and I quote, "That's why your mother married your stepfather. His pungent odor masked the smell of your blood." Again, I call BS. A smelly man has kept Percy safe this whole time. What was the radius of the odor protection? Like, it's not like he was with his stepdad 24/7. Like, what about when he's at school? What about when he's sitting at the bottom of a pool, as one does, for 7 minutes?
Of course, yeah, it's the only place you can think.
Does it make more sense in the book?
Yeah, so in the book, it's like a twofold thing where monsters have a sense of smell. For the demigods. So it's partially because he is so smelly, but they also kind of explain he's just like so egregiously boring and such like a bad human mortal person that that is what emanates more than just like the literal smell sense.
Okay.
So it's twofold, and they actually talk about monsters smelling you as opposed to Chiron just saying like, once you leave the gates, all bets are off, dude. So yeah, it definitely is explained more. It's still kind of like, but it makes more sense than just like, well, he smells bad, and thus she must marry him. Yeah, super whack, super duper whack. So Chiron calls over these people like our good friend Dylan in Paris, who we love, and then he begins to set up capture the flag, saying that Percy needs a team. Luke then comes up and offers to take him on the team. He introduces himself as Luke, son of Hermes, and camp leader. Not a thing. There is no camp leader. That is just absolutely nothing. Luke then does my least favorite joke in real life where someone just lies to you and then goes, I was just messing with you, which is not a joke. Not a joke. So he does that, which I hate. He then gives Percy a helmet and then says, welcome to the Blue Soldiers, as if that's the name that they have. So then they start. I've played a lot of Capture the Flag. I don't know if you guys did as kids. This is not Capture the Flag. Everyone is just in the woods. Someone just says, like, go. And then it's a D+ version of a fight scene from The Lord of the Rings. Everyone's just trying to murder each other. No one's going for the flag at all. It's just combat.
And why do so many of these teenagers have beards?
Oh, there's so many old people. There's so many
It's
30-year-olds. People have tattoos, so they're
Yeah.
at least 18,
Yeah.
unless they got illegal tattoos. So these people are legitimately trying to murder each other. I have in my notes, these people are all trying to murder each other, and they're also 30. Percy and Luke then run off because Luke knows where the flag is. Okay, why doesn't anyone else go? So then he kind of has to fight off some other people and tells Percy to go. Percy does fall as he's turning a corner, which feels unintentional, but I love that they kept it in because it does feel genuine for someone confused. I actually enjoyed it. So then Percy sees the flag after drinking some water just to get hydrated. And then he sees the flag, he's like, no way. And then Annabeth flies out of a tree, very Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, really much strapped up to some sort of thing, flies out of the tree, and then kind of sexy taunts him. And then they start to fight, cuts his hand, cuts his face. A bunch of people join to watch, not to grab the flag, not to defend the flag, just to watch. And then she gets a bunch of more slashes in on him. And I was so furious. And as we were watching this movie, I made the realization, she's just Clarice and Annabeth formed together in this movie. Like, she's just a morph. There's another character, Clarice, who's like a bully and tries to beat Percy up, and they have this whole back and forth. And in the Capture the Flag game, like, it's really aggressive with him. That's how he learns what his powers are. They've just brought the two of them together. But they've brought together Annabeth, his best friend and love interest, and Clarice, the bully who hates him, and turned them into the same character. It is the most bizarre choice possible.
Because there is no Clarice in the movie, right?
None at all. None at all. So they just give all of her stuff to Annabeth, which makes no sense. No sense at all.
Just like her primary battle strategy to hide in a tree until someone comes to the flag.
Right.
She's the daughter of the goddess of strategy.
But she does come out and she goes, my mom's Athena, which is why I'm super smart and stuff. Like, cool strategy. Stand near flag. Yeah. Real tough one. So then Percy's like on the ground, almost murdered.
Also, wait, I didn't realize this. If she was there,
Yeah.
couldn't she have just already captured it?
Well, it's her team. She's on the red team.
Okay.
So she's defending the red flag. Because I'm
Oh, I see what
assuming
you're
that
saying.
there's a red team flag and a blue team flag.
Okay.
But no one is going for the blue team flag because they're all watching Annabeth fight Percy.
Sure. Okay, that makes sense. I get it.
So then Percy's like on death's door near this little creek, and then a voice tells Percy to go to the water, and the water will give him power. There's just no subtlety in this movie. Percy doesn't get to discover anything by himself. No. The stupid Poseidon
Nor
voice.
do us as the audience.
No! The Poseidon voice has to be like, hey, by the way, I'm your dad, and I'm Poseidon. Go to the water because Poseidon is the god of the sea, so the water will heal you. So, like, literally just says, like, go to the water, it will give you power. There's this weird, funky CGI healing thing. And, of course, then people from his... And sorry, there's this weird water CGI healing thing. Then people from the Blue Soldiers, capital B, capital S, show up. And they don't grab the flag. They just watch Percy. He just goes, heal himself. They could win, but no, they just watch. And then Percy gets healed and is stronger, takes out 5 dudes easily, who of course attack him one at a time. Then he gets Annabeth in a little bit of a duel, has her at sword point at her neck. The prop swords look so prop swordsy. Like, they don't look real at all. And then after Percy has like defeated her in one-on-one combat, I guess, he just walks to the flag. And it's not like a close walk. He walks like along the shore to the flag. The red team literally parts out of the way to let him through, to grab the flag. And he apparently doesn't even need to take the flag back to the base. It's just capture the flag. We're like, once you get the flag, that's it. He grabs it, lifts it in the air, and then we get a celebratory bonfire. It's the worst game of capture the flag I've ever seen. I was livid. Livid. Like, everyone just stands and watches. It's bonkers. I couldn't believe it.
And why does the water give him sword skills?
Oh, well,
So
as
bad.
Poseidon said, it will give you power.
Oh,
Just vague power.
yeah, this really is a bad game of capture the flag.
It's a really bad game to capture the flag. Now, this is a good stopping point for intermission here. So if you're listening to the podcast, we'll break for, I guess we're back to the lightning brief because we're covering the movie. So let's all say goodbye to the podcast people. Goodbye,
Bye, podcast people.
All right.
So I have a critical update from backstage.
What happened?
I was informed by my smartphone that flight surgeons are actually a lot more than what I said. They're just doctors for the Air Force. It's just in Grey's Anatomy, and since they're all surgeons, that's what that meant, and that was my only experience with it. Yeah, so don't at me, doctors. Or if you do, just email Brandon Grugel.
Yes. Brandon Grugel no longer
And
has Twitter or Instagram, so
Yeah.
email Brandon
Yeah.
Grugel. There was one person who did. There's one,
What?
but not with like a thing. They would just like sent a joking message of like, "Hey, you should listen to this episode of the Newest Olympian." And Brandon screenshot it, was like, what happened?" It's really good. Okay, so we left off at the celebratory bonfire, which definitely happens in the books, and there's also some old guy roasting an entire pig.
Yeah. I got some thoughts on the bonfire.
Okay, yeah. There's
Do you
a
have
bunch.
anything else? But I don't want to step on your
Really
toes.
quickly, who is the old guy roasting an entire pig? Why is he the one adult there? Where is Mr. D, the person who runs the camp? Anyway, what are your thoughts?
I just think it's very funny that there are just like random, seemingly like college girls at the bonfire who are like,
Yes.
"Hey, you want to hang out later?" Like it literally, they have the same vibe as those like awful TikTok trends. It's like Camp Half-Blood's best kept secret is tonight's party. It's like,
I hate certain the TikTok voice when they describe restaurants makes me not want to ever eat food again.
yeah. Oh, man.
There's a restaurant in Soho called Food Place, and
There's food.
Come for the drinks, stay for the roast pig,
I went
churned by an old man who no one knows.
after Capture the Flag. We had a big bonfire. There was an old guy who roasted an entire pig. I couldn't eat all of the pig. It was so big. Yes. Oh, God. So yes, these three girls nervously ask Percy to attend a party they are having later. Where? I think they even say like in our room or something. Very strange. Also, the girl in the middle is at least 30. She is so old. She is so old. Annabeth then says beat it nymphs to them. So they're not even campers. They're not even people who have a cabin, if cabins exist at this Camp Half-Blood. But they're just the nymphs who in the book live in the trees. So what kind of party are they having? Any other thoughts of the bonfire? Was that your big thing?
Well, not until Hades gets there.
Oh, so then it's a real party.
Oh.
Percy brings up to Annabeth that she could have killed him there, which is true. She almost murdered the man. And then he mentions that he gets the vibe that she doesn't really like him. She explains that their parents hate each other. And I guess Chris Columbus just really read into that, where he was like, oh, so I'll just make them hate each other too, I guess, rather than be the main love interest of the series. So Annabeth, in response to all of this, says, I definitely have strong feelings for you. I just don't know if they're positive or negative yet.
How?
And then Percy, I guess kind of smoothly says, well, let me know when you figure it out. Like the best you can do with that line. And what I've realized is that Chris Columbus is just making the love version of Draco and Harry. Like he's just making dreary fanfic here. He's like really trying to make them enemies to lovers for no good reason. So then they take sips out of their goblets that have lights inside of them for some reason. Like they're drinking light up flashlight
You know when
juice?
people now get worried about like, oh, are they going to use like Chat GPT to write a movie? I think that happened.
Yeah.
That's how bad this dialogue is.
This was written by a bot. Yeah. So they take these sips, and then the bonfire erupts, and out from it comes a large, winged, humanoid, gargoyle-looking demon thing. And my first thought when I watched this, and you can, I believe, hear me say something to this effect, oh no, please don't be Hades, in the clip that's on Patreon. And it is Hades. He demands that Percy show himself, doesn't know who he is, just Percy, and
Whichever one you are.
makes him show himself, then explodes the food table
Yeah.
for no reason.
Roast pig.
Yeah, I guess, but he just explodes that entire table. Absolute party foul. Chiron tells Hades to stand back. Chiron, what are you gonna do? Like, he's a giant flaming winged thing, and Chiron has a sword. Yeah, what are you gonna do? Annabeth even also draws her knife, like, yeah, I'm gonna, like, yeah, okay, cool, you're gonna do something.
We're going to stab the fire.
So Hades demands that Percy bring him the bolt. In exchange, he will return his mother. And Percy says, my mother's gone. And like you said, it's like, I've been over that for minutes. Yeah. Hades corrects him, saying that she's alive, and he says that he sent the Minotaur to abduct her. Not a thing. In the book, the Minotaur is just like a monster, and because Percy is coming of age, the monsters attack you as you get older. It's just supposed to be like this random thing that happens, not a direct sending thing. Mrs. Dodds is supposed to be the person directly sent from Hades. So I don't understand why they have to throw this in there. I don't understand why the monster fight can't just
But
be a
why
monster
is it that
fight.
like the Minotaur can't get through the secret door thing, but Hades can just appear in this like supposedly safe place?
Well, there used to be a tree.
In the books,
This
there
is a book joke, yeah.
Okay.
It's like there's like a tree that was another camper that was a daughter of Zeus that had like sacrificed herself to save her friends, basically. So there's a tree of her, and it protects the camp. So there's like a barrier around it, so monsters can't get through. And they just have a Jurassic Park entryway in the movie instead.
Mm-hmm.
And
But still, rationalization for Hades being able to just like appear there.
Christopher Columbus decided it should be thus.
Right.
Because in the movie, Hades never shows up inside.
I guess in this
of-
particular scene, Hades demonstrates very little respect for forest fires.
Nice. Just he throws firebolts all around for
Smokey
no
the
good
Bear
reason.
would be mortified.
He would be so upset. So he sent the Minotaur to abduct her, says that Sally is with him in the underworld, and that if Percy ever wants to see his mother again, he should bring him the bolt, and then he just leaves. Percy wants to go to the underworld, but Chiron wants him to stick to the plan. Percy then tries to sneak out on a quest, but Grover can tell what's up, and Annabeth also knows what's up. Grover wants to go along on the quest because he's his protector, and he's supposed to keep him safe. Annabeth wants to go on a quest because she's never gone on a quest before, and that's it. She's like, I've hated you the whole time, but I gotta get out of here, so let's go. So then Grover asks Percy, okay, how are you gonna get to the underworld? And Percy goes, oh, I didn't think of that one. Where were you going? Where were you going? I know that you're
Jump
trying
down
to
a
leave.
sewer.
Yeah, like, what are you gonna do?
To the water, he needs to think. You know?
Oh, that's true. So Annabeth has an idea of someone who might know where to go. So we cut to them visiting Luke. Luke is in a giant cabin, all by himself, playing Call of Duty on the PlayStation 3 on 2 different screens, but then there are screens everywhere, laptops, computers, external monitors, everything. He says something like, welcome to the modern world, as if the rest of the camp is as old schooly as the infirmary, I guess. But they talk to Luke, and Annabeth's reasoning of why Luke might know is that his dad is Hermes, and Hermes was one of the few to go in and out of the underworld, so maybe he told Luke how to do it. And Luke says that he's never met his dad, so he wouldn't know. But he says that he once snuck into his dad's house and got some cool stuff. What house? What house? Is he talking about Olympus? What house does Hermes have?
It's probably a nice one.
Yeah, but like, so these things, the cool stuff, includes winged Chuck Taylors and a map to Persephone's pearls, which should allow them to easily escape the underworld, because getting in is the easy part. He still has not told them how to get in, but that's the easy part. Now in the book, Adam, the pearls do show up, but they don't show up until like halfway through the book. And then Poseidon sends a water goddess to give the pearls to kind of help them along the way. Doesn't explicitly say that the pearls can help you get out of the underworld. It's just kind of like, here are the pearls. They might come in handy. If you need an emergency, break them. But now, these things that are kind of just like not super important until we know that we need them become the focal point of the film. Like, it's something that's like nice and kind of neat in the movie, in the book, but in the movie, it is the central driving force of the plot. They are not Persephone's pearls in the book. They are Persephone's pearls now. And the whole thing is that the map, which also doesn't exist, is supposed to lead you to the pearls. So this is the part where book fans, we just get so frustrated because it's just so off the rails and so needlessly off the rails. Like there's no absolute reason. Because what happens is in the book, they just start making their way to Los Angeles because that's where the entrance to the underworld is. So rather than this whole thing of like, you'll find the 3 pearls from this map, there's only 3 in the US. Right. Thank goodness there's 3 of you. And then after you find the pearls, the map will then tell you where the underworld is. A completely different thing. And it's just so needless.
But did people feel that the Harry Potter films were like reasonably true to the book?
Yes, pretty
So what
solid.
the hell was Chris Columbus doing?
Just flexing. He was like, I know everything. I know better than the guy who wrote all the books. Let me do some new stuff.
So weird.
Just hit him with the Chris Columbus originals. Just throw it in. So
First order of business, not 12 anymore.
no,
Adults.
They gotta be old. I can't deal with directing children. Give me Alexandra Daddario. She's 22. So they learn from Luke that there are 3 pearls in the US, of course, and the map guides them to the first location. The map, it's basically just the Marauders map. I think Johnny pointed this out in the stream. It's just the Marauders map. Chris Columbus is like, I know what to do. So it reveals Auntie M's Garden Gnome Emporium. But if you see the dot, and maybe some folks here, anyone from New Jersey come to the show? Okay, sweet. Oh my God, our beloved home state. Amazing. The dot, not in New Jersey. Certainly not New Jersey. It is way too north and east. It is like in, like maybe Westchester, maybe Doylestown, right? but it's not New Jersey at all.
The dot was the location of an Auntie Anne's pretzel.
Yeah. Oh, Auntie Anne's, not Auntie M's. Oh,
Yeah. Simple mistake. We've all made it. I do love the fact that they, even though it clearly wasn't that on the map, like it's very funny to me that Medusa's lair is in New Jersey.
It's a great joke.
Yeah.
It's good. I love the New Jersey representation that shows up. Now, Luke then gives them another gift, his favorite shield. And this shield is just Tyson's shield from later in the series. So later in the series, Percy meets his friend and half-brother, who is Cyclops Tyson. And Tyson makes this custom shield for him, and he engraves it with like all of their adventures that they've gone on together. And it's like this big sentimental moment. Tyson's really good at crafting things, and it's this really great thing. And then in this movie, Luke is like, oh yeah, I stole it from my dad's house. Here's the shield. Sucks so much. Luke then wants them to make one promise to him. Quote, you see my dad on the highway to hell, kick his ass for me. And then Highway to Hell by AC/DC plays on the music. Johnny predicted that this would happen when we watched it on the Patreon stream, and it blew my mind. Like, I did not think they would stoop this low to being like, well, they said Highway to Hell, so clearly we must play Highway to Hell.
And yet that got like the biggest laugh out of me for that whole film. It was on accident.
Yep. So then they're taking a Greyhound to New Jersey. This is NJ Transit erasure. But then they go. Look, I love the NJ Transit. I'm just going to absolutely be a big fan of it. Anyway, they then get to Auntie M's Garden Gnome Emporium. They enter. There are rats in a crate for some reason. I guess because she has snakes for hair. That's why they're there. They then find a fountain with gold drachmas in it. They only take 4, even though it's filled with them.
Those will come in handy later.
Yeah, God, so heavy-handed. They then start looking around for the pearl. Then, a character actor who is acting her ass off.
Oh, she ate.
She runs in, screaming, grabs Annabeth, first saying, get out of here, she's coming. And then she says that her husband stopped for directions, but it seems like things are gonna get a bit rocky for the old hubby. She then says, come on, even though 2 seconds ago she said, get out of here, and then drags Annabeth. And then we cut to Grover finding Uncle Ferdinand, realizing, oh no, my Uncle Ferdinand died because of Medusa. This is
How
him.
would he know that?
Yeah, he didn't know it in the book, right?
No.
He just was more creeped out by it looking like Uncle Ferdinand, which
Yeah.
it's just,
And they find it, and he's like, oh no, he was killed by Medusa.
Well, I mean, the obituary.
Yeah, of course.
yeah. In the book, it
course.
is much more of a slow reveal, and the characters get to find it out on their own. But because no one can be intelligent in this movie, Grover just has to be like, oh, I know the answer, and now I must tell the other 2 people. So he finds Percy. They're trying to find Annabeth. But Annabeth and the woman then approach Uma Thurman playing Medusa. The highlight of the film. It's so good. She
So
has wild sunglasses on and a big old head wrap thing that is straight out of the Michael Kors Cultural Appropriation Collection. She has the
She's got a dashiki on.
She's got this big leather Matrix Revolutions looking jacket. And then Medusa does the reveal of the whole backstory to Annabeth. Uma's doing great. The lady then gets turned to stone because she falls for the hypnotic voice thing, which they don't explain. So if you haven't read the book, you might wonder why people want to open their eyes. It's like a thing that we learn, that Medusa has this like trance where you want to do what she says. They never mention that though. But Percy then sees this happening to Annabeth, and he has the idea to use his iPod Touch as the reflective mirror. Unironically, this rules. It's incredible. I love it. I think it's fantastic. I have no complaints with this. Do you? I thought it was
No.
great. Okay, cool.
So back in the days of wired headphones, there was this thing called an iPod Touch.
Medusa then uses the statue woman because she freezes her, and then that woman has her hand around Annabeth's wrist. She uses the statue woman as a sunglass holder. Oh, it's so
Yeah, it's a
good.
great touch.
It's
Yeah.
a really good touch. Percy gets her attention, then she chases after Percy. And then she screams, son of Poseidon, I used to date your daddy.
Even Uma can't escape from the terrible dialogue of this movie.
And then she does the slowest game of statue dominoes imaginable. She pushes over a statue, and then roughly 87 statues fall over while Percy goes,
I wonder what's happening.
oh no, and then falls under one. Grover breaks Annabeth free with a line, which is good. He goes, "Need a hand?" It's good. It's good. This whole scene is really good. Medusa says that she heard that Percy has the bolt. And he says, "I don't have it. Why does everyone keep saying that I have this?" She tries to get Percy to open his eyes using the magic powers. And she says that she's heard his eyes are as blue as the Circassian Sea, which I Googled because I was like, where's this? It's apparently near Russia? Okay. Well, could have said Mediterranean, but that's just me.
Is it particularly blue?
I would hope so. Otherwise, this would just be a double weird choice. But she says this. Percy Jackson's eyes are supposed to be green, but Logan Lerman's are blue, so I don't know. Maybe his eyes couldn't do the color contacts, just like D-Rad. But Annabeth then drives a truck through the Emporium to save Percy. Grover credits her for great demigod driving, which I guess is different than regular driving. Percy sneaks around and then beheads Medusa, and he does go, and I love this, he goes, "Heads up," and then swirls the sword twice and then puts it away. Oh, it's so good. It's so good.
The one thing that confused me, though, wasn't, like, right before he beheads her, wasn't she starting to look at the iPod? Like, why didn't she turn herself into stone?
I don't know if she can do herself to stone, or maybe the iPad because it was far enough away.
Yeah,
I'm
well,
not
the
sure. That is a
reflection
good
shouldn't
question.
do it, right? That's how Percy could see her in the first place.
Oh, right,
so
right.
Yeah.
They it was just to
She
show
was just
Percy
distracted.
yeah.
She was distracted by
Yeah.
the new technology for the
Exactly.
time.
Yeah, she was like, "Oh, how many, is that a 32 gigabyte?"
I only had a shuffle.
Annabeth suggests bringing the head with them to use its power because it can still turn people to stone even if it is detached. Percy wants to wrap it in Grover's jacket until they can find some ice. Grover, I realized after he takes off his hoodie that he's wearing an orange shirt, but not a Camp Half-Blood shirt. And also, no one has Camp Half-Blood shirts. There's multiple people in the crowd here with Camp Half-Blood shirts. It's like a big thing. It would be like if Harry Potter, they were just like, no robes. It's just such a weird decision. Percy then finds the pearl on Medusa's bracelet, so they take it. They get back in the car. Grover, the only person without feet, is the one to drive the car. A choice.
He's hoofing it.
Hey!
Hey!
The map then tells them to go to the Parthenon in Nashville, which is not where they go. This will be a fun game. They go to an American tourist attraction instead of Nashville. Do you have any guess as to where they would go? I will say, as the exact opposite of the Nashville thing where they're like, it's the Greek one, it is not Greek at all. It's just a tourist attraction.
Oh, wait, I'm sorry. You're saying in the book they go
In the
somewhere else?
book, they don't go to the Nashville thing at all. They
All
go
right,
somewhere else.
What's my hint?
It is not Greek at all. It's just like a U.S. tourist attraction.
The Grand Canyon.
Good guess.
Ooh.
St. Louis Arch.
Okay.
They go to the St. Louis Arch, which, like, as they're just going across to L.A., like, yeah, it's on the way, sure.
Gateway
But
to the West.
Yeah, so that could be a thing. But Chris Columbus just goes, no, it's not Greek enough. Let's go to the Greek thing. So they go to Nashville. I was furious.
But at least they announce it 8 times before they get there.
Oh, dude. So many times. So many times.
I've been.
Yeah? To the Parthenon thing?
Yeah.
Is it cool?
Yeah. No.
Okay. Grover doesn't want to go to Nashville because he hates country music. He falls asleep at the wheel, so they decide to stop for the night at a motel. There's a pool, which really foreshadows Percy sitting in it because they show it like very clearly. Percy then does sit in it. It is also enormous when they show the underwater scene. I'm pretty sure it's just the same thing where they shot the thing in the intro of the movie, but they were like, oh, we'll just use this one again. He goes up and then starts talking to Annabeth. Annabeth says to Percy that he did well today. Percy then is able to use the water to heal her wrist injury from the Rock Lady. And that is not how it works in the book. He can heal himself, not other people, but whatever. Percy asks for a bit more backstory about why Athena and Poseidon hate each other. She explains. Percy asks what Athena is like, and then Annabeth says she doesn't know because she never met her. And Percy says, what, is this the case for everyone? And Annabeth says that it's forbidden. Quote, right after we were born, Zeus decreed that the gods couldn't have physical contact with their offspring, which is so wrong in so many ways. It completely goes against what happened in the book. First question, who is we? No one, were all these people born on the same day? Like, it is such a weird thing to say. Well, right after we were born, everyone on January 1st. Just absolutely bizarre. So are there some people like in this year that have seen them or not? But there's also no reason stated. They say it at like the very end of the movie, but it's just so strange, not a thing. Like it's just so frustrating. Annabeth though Annabeth says she thinks that Athena talks to her in times of trouble. And Percy goes, oh yeah, that's happened to me. I keep hearing my dad's voice telling me what to think so that I can't think on my own. And she says, that's your dad. So then Grover calls them to the room to watch the news because Percy is on the news. The news calls Sally Jackson Sally Ugliano, which is Smelly Gabe's last name. She did not take his last name in the book. I'm furious that she took his last name. Where is your independence, Sally? It's so frustrating. Smelly Gabe is on the news. He says that Percy is like doing drugs and alcohol and he kidnaps Sally. And then the cleaning lady sees the beheaded Medusa and screams, so they decide to leave. I guess they didn't sleep.
The whole reason they stopped and didn't do it.
Nope, but who cares? Because it's the morning, and now we're at the full-scale Parthenon Park, the Parthenon, and they're in Nashville.
Well, but before they get to the Parthenon, they have to say, quote, wow, that's amazing, a complete replica of the Parthenon in Nashville. We literally see it.
We see it, and then we see a sign that says
The Parthenon.
The Parthenon Park or whatever, and there's like 3 things in a row. It's ridiculous. There are also, when we're doing the pan of the people at the park, there's a lot of people at the park. There's 3 children absolutely losing their minds over one of those guys doing the giant bubble thing, which is true to form. But you can just see 2 kids go like, oh my God! And then one guy puts his hands over his head like, no way! Oh, it's so good. It's so good. So yeah, so they go inside, and then they see a huge statue of Athena wearing a diadem with the pearl in it. The plan is that they're going to wait in the bathroom until the place closes, and then they'll go get it after hours. So they are going to use the flying shoes, but there's 5 janitors here. Annabeth says that she's got this, and I was like, oh, she's going to use her trademark invisible hat. This is like her trademark thing, much like Percy
Invisible
has
hat?
Riptide the sword.
Yeah.
She has a Yankees hat, then when she puts it on, she turns invisible.
Okay.
It's like her most famous iconic thing. So when I first watched this, I was like, oh, cool, this will be neat. She'll sneak around. No, she brings out a crossbow and then just shoots everybody. Now,
Also in a particularly dangerous way. Like the one guy falls off a ladder.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. He for sure breaks both of his legs. There's no way.
Yeah.
Grover, though, does have a funny line when she's shooting people. He goes, those are working class Americans, which is actually
That
funny.
is funny. But also the ladder guy, like the way he falls, he falls onto the like base of the statue.
Yes.
What was he doing on the ladder? Was he just on a ladder in the middle of the atrium? There's nothing there.
Oh, that's a good call. I'd have to relook that, but yeah.
He's like just on a ladder just because.
Yeah, well, look, had to get the dramatic stunts
Sure.
in, I guess. So we learn, Annabeth goes, don't worry, they're not dead. They're just unconscious. So they're
Except for that one guy
tranquilizing
whose legs are shattered.
absolutely
And I
destroyed.
love, she's like, we've got 30 minutes. And then it cuts to them. They've dragged all of the people off. So I'm like, we've lost 15 of our 30 minutes just getting these bodies somewhere else.
Ridiculous. Annabeth busts out her laptop and then video calls Luke in undescript, unbranded video call service.
Who gave them the Wi-Fi? She had a hotspot in 2009.
They go on a call with Luke, and Annabeth asks, quote, how do we turn on the shoes? Not how do we use the shoes, how do we command the shoes, how do we turn on the shoes? Luke says that Percy has to build up speed like a jet on a runway. And then Percy gets him working, flies, almost gets the pearl, climbs up and grabs it. And then I guess Annabeth and Percy just became best friends because they said 2 words to each other in the pool because Annabeth gives him a very excited, yeah, Percy, when he gets it. And then when he comes down, he gives her a very sultry hug, like a big 2-arm over the shoulder, holding in place, like a genuinely smooth kind of move if you're a teenager kind of thing. But then he sees the 5 janitors forming in a horizontal line. Don't want to see that. They all speak in unison, don't want to hear that, and they demand the bolt. One burps fire, and then they morph into the Hydra. Now, this is a problem because the Hydra is a major monster in the second book. So what are they going to do? I can't imagine what's in the second movie. I hate this movie so much, and the resounding comments that everyone has ever told me in person, online, in the chat of the Patreon stream, everyone's just
You've
like,
never seen it.
Never seen it. Everyone's just like, just wait for the second one.
I want to watch it with you.
Yeah, let's do it. There was one particular quote where someone, I think, made an Instagram comment that said, I watched the first movie and thought this couldn't be worse. And then the second one said, oh, this is how, or something like, how could it be worse than this? And the second one proved it. So they turn into the Hydra. And then there's a fight scene. Percy loses the pearl. A fight ensues. Percy flies up with the shoes. He starts slicing off their heads, which of course is bad. Grover is the one who's supposed to be using the shoes in the book, but whatever. And then Percy tells Annabeth to distract it while he gets the pearl. So he goes to get it. She starts firing arrows because I guess she's Thalia now, a different character whose trademark thing is a bow and arrow. Percy then commands the water from the water fountain to surround the Hydra, which makes me upset because in the books, he does this to get rid of Clarice, who's bullying him. She tries to give him a swirly, and then he makes all of the toilets explode, and then the water gets her, and then he says he's Supreme Lord of the bathroom, which is great. So now he's just like Supreme Lord of the water fountain, I guess. But they do the water, they distract him, they try to get out. The door is locked, so they don't think that they can get out. But then Grover uses the Medusa head to turn the Hydra to stone. And weirdly, when he flips up the glasses, the mouth opens. How does, like, she's beheaded. Like, why does she still have control over her mouth?
It's like a nutcracker.
Oh. Yeah.
I just want to know, like, so that thing just gets turned to stone.
Yes.
Do the real janitors just find that in the morning?
Are there real janitors? Are these like very dedicated method actor Hydra, where they're like every day?
No,
I gotta work
those are
this
fake
9 to
janitors,
5.
but there must be actual janitors who just walk in and find this stone Hydra.
Oh, like the day shift janitors?
Yeah,
maybe?
yeah.
Oh, I guess they're really like, oh, I guess it's a new installation. So they have the statue. It does look kind of cool.
Talk about an installation in progress. That's all you want.
See, I mean, the scene like isn't horrible, but it's just. I don't get why you don't just do the scene where they go to the St. Louis Arch. Like, it's a very similar kind of thing where, like, they go to the Arch, they get attacked by a monster, but it's an echidna instead of the Hydra. Like, why not just do that?
Could it just be that it was easier to film it in Nashville? Like,
I
is
don't
there
know. I
something-
really think it was Chris Columbus was like, this one's more Greek, so we have to do it.
No, look, Chris is a real big fan of country music, and just one of the things to do in his afternoons.
So then they
I do
go
want to touch on a point of order for
Say
the.
again?
I want to have like a discussion about these pearls real quick, though, because it's like we're told in the movie that this is how Persephone smuggles lovers in and out of the underworld,
Ooh.
right? So, Uma Thurman, I get that makes sense. Was she having an affair with the statue in Nashville? The Hydra? Like,
some local Tennessee country music star?
Ah.
I don't know. That's a good point.
just keeps it up there?
Yeah, just, oh, here's a good spot for safekeeping on top of a statue. So they stop at a diner, and I was like, oh, is Ares going to show up? So Ares in the book is like the major villain in the book, and he's just not in the movie at all.
Yeah.
Not there at all. They never mention him when they have all the gods there at the end. I guess he's one of them, though, but they never call him by name. They just delete the entire main villain in the film. But they're at a diner, and then they see on the news that weather across the globe is getting bad. And Annabeth says, oh, the gods are angry. So,
Like they're always watching TV at the exact moment of important news.
yeah, it's not like, the Phillies game or whatever. So then, only then, does Annabeth ask where the next location is according to the map. So, what they've done here is they've defeated the Hydra. They have found a way to unlock the door, I guess. Like, they never tell you how they solve that problem. But they get out of the Parthenon. They get in the car. They pick a diner to go to. They go to the diner. They sit down. They wait for a table. They order food. They get the food. They eat like half of the food. And then Annabeth goes, so where should we go? What have you been doing for the past 2.5 hours? What is happening?
They were hungry. Have you ever killed a Hydra?
Yeah, but like, why don't you just say like, which way do we need to go? Oh, we got to go over to Las Vegas, so let's go west. Like, what if they drove the exact opposite direction of Las Vegas? It's just so bizarre. Oh my God.
It was just the most Greek diner in Nashville. They had to go.
The Greekest diner, yeah. So then they ask, the map says that they got to go to Vegas, and of course Grover is incredibly hyped because he's just a different character in this. And then they drive to Vegas, which is my least favorite thing. Annabeth is sitting in the middle back seat, and Percy Jackson is driving. Now, they never really say how old Percy Jackson is in this movie, but we're guessing he's like 16 or so. So already probably doesn't have a driver's license just based on age in New York. But he's a native New Yorker, and has a driver's license and is good at driving.
Well, the water taught him how to drive.
Don't
underestimate the power.
That
of
was
water.
actually the power. When Poseidon says the water will give you power, the water will teach you how to drive. 10 and 2, Percy.
but not a stick shift.
Oh my gosh. So then the map tells them to go to Las Vegas. And we're going to have to pick that up next time because we're running out of time. We've had too much stuff, but that is where we will leave this discussion of the movie for now. If you're listening to the podcast, we'll take another break, and then we'll get back to the Q&A. But if you're here now, let's get into Q&A. Woo!
Yeah.
So, shout out to everybody who sent in questions. There are quite a few, so let's get to them right now. This first one is from Jill. Jill says, "Hi, I'll be at the show tomorrow." So this is dedication. This is why I picked the question, Jill. "I'll be at the show tomorrow and was hoping to ask a question for the Q&A. What god or goddess best represents Philly? Thank you. Looking forward to seeing you. Big fan of TNO, Horse and Potter." So, the god?
The god Gritty.
Oh, I like it. I like it. I like it a lot. I don't know. I'm trying to think because I could see, I would probably go Dionysus just because I feel like Philly is like a fun kind of like party town. You know, certainly alcohol flows at certain events. So that would be my thought. Do you have a Philly god or goddess choice? Local Texan Steven Parra.
Yeah, I know a lot about Philly. Hermes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this one is from Roshan. Roshan says, "Hello from your neighbors in West Windsor. The subject line was Central Jersey is real. As a Central Jersey boy, I'm very, very, very happy about this." So I don't have a question regarding PJO, but I wanted to ask if you can tell us about your love for Di Lorenzo's in Robbinsville and how tomato pie is different from pizza. Also, shout out, I'm here celebrating my 30th birthday. Thanks for a great show. Happy birthday from Roshan and Anita. So I am from Central Jersey. I am from Robbinsville. I don't prefer the Robbinsville Di Lorenzo's. I go to the Trenton one, and I went to like the OG Trenton one. Now I go to the new Trenton one. The Robbinsville one is fine, but I just think the Trenton one is like a step above. But tomato pie is definitely a different thing from pizza. Just, I would say, or at least by Di Lorenzo standards, I just feel like it's more of an emphasis on the sauce and the crust than the cheese, which is good and like harder to do. If you get the chance to go to Di Lorenzo's, you guys should all go. It's great. It's perfect. They're not paying me to say this, but they should do that. I should hit them up and see if we can get a sponsorship.
You'd probably do it just for the free pizza.
I would do it for free pizza.
Yeah.
Like I would be like, you have to pay me, just let me come in and be like, I'm the guy, and they'll be like, yeah, sure, one half sausage, half onion pie, we got you. But yes, thank you for your question and for your recognition of Central Jersey. Which someone else sent a question, did I know that it was signed into law by the governor? Yes, I did. I was very happy, but one of the counties was wrong. Like they messed up what they said was Central Jersey. I forget which one, but there was one where it was like, you guys missed one. Or they put an extra one. I remember being like, yay, damn. Anyway, there's another question from Jill that I thought was great. Who is the Philly Fanatics' godly parent? Now, Steven, if you're not familiar with the Philly Fanatic, it is the mascot of the Philadelphia Phillies, the local baseball team. Just a giant green,
Looks like
fluffy
some sort
monster.
of like Dr. Seuss fever dream.
Yeah, it's like if they let Dr. Seuss make a Sesame Street character.
Yeah.
It's just a big green, got one of those big bellies and like a thing for a tongue.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah. Gosh, I would get, if Pan counts, because Pan has all of the wild, mythical creatures, that would be my pick. I don't know if either of you have a Greek god.
I don't know enough about the
selection.
Greek
Sure.
gods and goddesses.
Yeah.
Aphrodite.
Ooh, all right. Because he's so attractive.
Yeah.
Okay, this one is from the Arkansas/DC gang. Those feel far apart. But, okay. Yesterday was Kate's birthday. Happy birthday yesterday, Kate. And let's see. They were wearing a teal and yellow sweater. Please wish them a happy birthday. Happy birthday. And here are the three things, Mike. 1, are you aware of the actor playing Poseidon? Yeah, we got into that. 2, what cabins do the Ted Lasso characters belong in? We did that in a live show previously, so just listen to the podcast in the future. And 3rd, how was Eric Nam? Kelly and I went to Eric Nam. He was like a pop star, also K-pop guy. He was great. He was very funny. Big fan. Good stuff. He was very good. All right, this next one is from Steph. The subject line, Scrapple is a Pennsylvania breakfast pate, which is the most profound way to write about Scrapple. Hi, Mike, Adam, and Dr. Parra, longtime listener, first-time caller. I have 2 questions. 1, Mike, love the socks. What's on them? They are new. First time wearing them. One of them has Shaggy surfing, and one of them has Scooby-Doo surfing.
Nice.
Shout out to Meddling Adults Season 4B, which is underway right now. Everybody go listen wherever you get your podcasts. Both of these people have been on episodes in the past. Question 2, what are you most looking forward to with the new series after attending New York Comic Con? So I was fortunate enough to go to New York Comic Con as a member of the press, and that allowed me to go to the early access Percy Jackson hype up thing, where I got to see clips from the film that had big, super scary warnings about not videotaping them. I didn't want to videotape it. I wanted to take a picture of the warning though, because the warning was like, "We're Disney and we'll smite you if you share this." It was so intimidating. I will say, I was fortunate enough, they showed us the first 7 minutes of episode 1.
What?
And because I'm standing in solidarity with the SAG strike, I'm not gonna hype up anything too much, so I'll just say something super niche that was relevant to something we said in the show. They showed a clip of them driving in the car, and Grover is sitting in the back left seat, and I was so happy. Oh, I was overjoyed. So that should tell you enough, they're doing this one right. This one is from Leora. The subject line is Camden, PA with a question mark. And when I saw this, I was like, Camden's in New Jersey. And that'll make sense in 4 seconds. Hi, Mike. Love the show so much. I recently went to a concert in Camden, which is in New Jersey, where the artist repeatedly called us Camden, Philadelphia. As a fellow NJ native, I need your thoughts. So first off, it's weird enough to not recognize that the city is in the state that you're in, but it's not like he said Camden, Pennsylvania. He said Camden, Philadelphia. Hey, Boston, Portland, what's up? Super strange.
Can I tell you something? When I was in 4th grade, I grew up in Illinois, moved to New Jersey, and the first question somebody asked me when I said that I was from Illinois was, Illinois, isn't that the capital of Chicago? I was like, you are wrong on so many levels that I don't even know how to answer that. For the record, Springfield is the capital of Illinois. Silent S.
Nice. Now, they have a follow-up question. Now that you're covering the movie, I need to know, have you read the Rick Riordan emails about the movie? I have read the emails, and I'm going to do an episode just about the emails. So,
All right.
Rick Riordan, who wrote the books, wrote strongly worded emails to Chris Columbus when he saw early footage of the film.
Yeah.
Where he was like, you guys are going to mess this up so badly.
Yeah.
It's not going to be good. I think even with the script, because I think he left as a producer once the script got to him. And he was like, this is going to be really, really bad, guys. And then I guess the minute he got out of his NDA, Rick Riordan has these publicly on his personal website, just for everyone to read. It is awesome.
So these were from when this first film
When
came out?
it was in production, he sent emails, and they're really nice where he's like, I don't want to step on your toes, but I think you're doing some things that are going to catastrophically mess up the film and the whole series, especially if you want to do sequels.
Right.
And it's just so good. It's so good. He has an FAQ page on his website. And, the first question is did you have anything to do with the movies? And just no. Oh, it's so good.
Categorically no.
He hates them
so much. Okay, this one is from Hunter. It says, hello. If you could change one thing to make the movie even more egregiously bad, what would it be? So if we're all gonna make something to make the movie even worse, what would it be? I would set it in Europe. Just don't even make it American. You have to find new things for everything. Empire State Building, Eiffel Tower now. Yeah. What about you two?
I think that everyone have to just say everybody's name before they spoke. It's like, Percy, what should we do next? Annabeth, I don't know. Grover, keep running.
And then read the stage directions.
Yeah.
I mean, I would say the biggest thing that would have hurt the movie is if they cast anyone other than Uma Thurman.
Yes.
That was maybe the one redeeming part of the film.
Yeah.
So anybody, if they just had let's have Elizabeth Banks. No disrespect to Elizabeth.
Yeah, sure.
I was trying to think of someone random, but I don't know.
Yeah. Now, this one, subject line, Doylestown greater than Philadelphia. Ooh. This is from Megan. Megan says, what slogan/catchphrase/motto would each cabin have in order to attract campers to it? Like a tagline in a PR campaign. Thanks for coming all the way out to Doylestown. Love the show. Gets me through my commute every Monday. So we've got to come up with some snappy PR campaign lines for each of the cabins.
And so what are the cabins?
Each of the gods. So Zeus, Poseidon, Demeter, all that kind of stuff. I would say, let's see. I think
Zeus would just be, it's lit.
Yeah. Pretty good. I feel like Hermes would have to, because in the books, everybody goes there until you get claimed. So the Hermes one could just be like, everybody else is here. And it's just like very straightforward. I feel like Demeter, since it's the plant would have something about like blossom into your truest self or something like that.
Aphrodite, you're hot now.
Yeah. Maybe Poseidon, like, wash away your troubles. Like, very beach resorty, something like that. Yeah. Maybe if the Dionysus one could just be like, it's a party, or also, it's lit. Yeah. All right, this one is from Noel. Subject line, it's our anniversary. Happy anniversary. Says, Dear Mike, Adam, and Steven, if you could have a meal with any character, who would it be, and what would you eat? Longtime listeners, first-time emailers, Noel and Jacob. I would have a meal with Grover, because since he eats trash, he wouldn't eat any of the food, and it would be all the food for me. What about you guys? If you could have a meal with any character.
You have an answer?
I think maybe Sally Jackson. I think she's a cool
yeah.
person. She probably makes good food, and it'll probably be blue.
Yeah.
They eat blue food. In
They
the
eat
book.
blue food. It's a
thing.
cute thing.
I don't know. Yeah.
I think I would have a meal with Annabeth for obvious reasons. But modern Annabeth, we're the same age in real life. I would be in this.
Don't worry, she was
Yeah.
22 when she filmed that movie anyway, so you're fine.
That's a White Lotus reference.
So this one is from Maggie. Maggie says, if you could have the legs of any animal, who would you choose and why is it a pigeon? Also, I think Percy didn't notice Grover's legs because of the mist. So that's poorly explained in the movie, but the mist is supposed to like make mortals have a harder time seeing the truth. So maybe it was just that, but they really didn't explain it very well in the movie. So if you could have the legs of any animal, what would you choose? Maybe like kangaroo, because then I could dunk.
Yeah, that could be fun.
Yeah.
That could be fun. What about you?
I don't know. Do you think like cheetah legs would like work if there's only two of them?
I had that same thought. I was going to say that, and then I thought kangaroo. Wow, great minds. Yeah, I don't know, because they run on all fours.
Yeah.
I got nothing.
Okay.
I don't know. Yeah.
Then there's a quick one here, and then we'll do our final question. This one is from Mercedes. Mercedes, the subject line is, Doylestown is a borough in the county seat of Bucks County in Pennsylvania, United States, which is apparently Wikipedia's description of Doylestown. Mercedes asks, what is a good niche Percy Jackson Halloween costume? So I would say, and they also said, not going to dress up as the film adaptation. That would be too scary.
Nice.
I've said it on the pod, but people should do it and then credit me when people ask your costume. You should dress up as Supreme Lord of the Bathroom, which like dress up is basically like King George from Hamilton, but out of like toilet stuff. So you have like a toilet wand instead of a scepter, and then like frilly things made out of toilet rolls. That would be my pick. That's my recommendation to you. Any other Halloween costume ideas?
Just be Darren, the guy at the pinball machine.
Darren, the guy at the pinball machine, is good. He does show up. That guy who's all groovy and
Great Escape's the
Yeah,
best
yeah,
movie
yeah.
this year.
Yeah, we learn he's Darren. He spells his name D-A-R-R-I-N. So also spooky. Ugh. All right, so this is the last question. It's fantastic. So this one is from Bianca. Subject line, Philly versus everybody. And it says, one of Philly's chants for sports is nobody likes us, don't care, which is good. I really do enjoy that. Tyson's battle cry is peanut butter. What battle cry would you have going into battle? Love the show and the podcast. So if you're about to lead your people into a battle like Capture the Flag, where you're just trying to murder everybody else in this cabin where everybody's 30, if you had a battle cry, what would it be? I would probably just yell something like, what's that over there? And then blah, 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 blah.
What would yours be?
Oh, mine?
Yeah.
The wounds I'm about to afflict are mine and mine alone. Do not reflect the desires of any medical school, medical excuse that
Good
exists.
disclaimer. Anything for you?
I don't know that that's going to be topped.
Yeah, it's a pretty good one. Well, pretty solid. Now, that is the final question of the show. Thank you all so much for coming out. Give yourselves a round of applause for making it out to the show. Give it up to Adam and Steven for being incredible guests. Give it up also to everyone here at City Winery that helped out. It was such a smooth production. Sophia on sound, CC and hospitality, everybody we were emailing, so great, top to bottom. Could not have a smoother production. It was so fantastic. Also, give it up to Aaron and the folks who are filming the show for future documentary purposes. So we get to see some fun video stuff from it. All good stuff. Thank you all so much. I really do appreciate it. But But yeah, that's all we've got time for here. It was super fun. You still can go to the merch table after. Adam and Kelly will be there with the various merch, so check that out. But I very much appreciate you all coming through to the show. And this was a wonderful time. Always have a fun time here in Philly, aka Doylestown. I'm so glad I got to make the whole Doylestown thing come to be. I'll explain that joke to you after, so you're wondering why I've been calling it Doylestown for the past 2 hours. But until I come back to Doylestown or Philly or wherever in the state of Pennsylvania to do a live show, until then, thanks so much for coming out, everybody! Woo!